Hi again, everybody. I'm Ross Cabot in the Cobb TV studios with Chairman Mike Boyce for our weekly chat here. And we're talking, Chairman, right after crossover day at the legislature. Right. And there were a number of things that impact us.
Yes, well, let's just get right to the the fruit bowl here, which is the transit bill. And the bottom line is, this morning the Republican delegation put out a message saying that we're committed to doing this, and I'm right in line with it. We're committed to doing it. This is the year that we have to do this. But the devil is always in the details. And as I've been reading the various reports, things on television, it's a disparate story, and we need to bring it back together. So here's where we are in Cobb County. And here's where I am working with the board and the delegation, and what I've made very clear has to get done for this to pass. First of all, there's no question that there is now a body of support for regional transit on a partnership level. That's clear. But the proposal to draw a map inside Cobb County, that was the first glitch, because the first map initially had basically out of Cobb Link, and then for various reasons it was reduced down to what I call the lobster map, which included South Cobb and then these two claws around Smyrna. That was the one that went to the House before, to the committee before it was passed by the House. And we realized that wasn't going to work, because the bottom line is it has to be a tax where the whole county is taxed. Because if you don't do that, that means part of the county will have a 6% sales tax and part of the county will have a 7% sales tax. And for the business community, you can see right away that's a disaster. I can think of any number of businesses that will be severely impacted by people going to the area where they only have to pay 6% on a large purchase. So I believe that the delegation did the right thing by throwing out the map and simply saying that we're going to come back as a county and pass a 1-cent sales tax to address these issues. But my experience and what I've seen in the past is that I go back to what Commissioner Cupid has always said: whatever we do has to float all boats. And the bottom line is there are transit issues are a day late and a dollar short for some parts of this county. In other words, the price that we would take to put us out there would consume probably over all the 1-cent tax. And then there's a part of the county where we had transit and they simply didn't use it. So they've already shown us that why would they give us 1 cent to pay for something where we know that transit's not their option. So what I'm asking the delegation to do, and we're having a lunch on Monday, is the overall body, the Atlanta Transit Authority, would have to be something where I would agree to it being a planning authority, where we have to submit our plans to them to make sure that it's connected to the rest of the region, not just the county, but the rest of the region, and that makes sense. But I'm a little careful here about being able to transfer the authority also of them approving our projects, because I don't understand why people outside our county think they know better for us than what we know for us. So, and the other part is our money. We'd be raising the taxes, but somebody else has to be approving the authority to buy it. But that's going to have to be worked out. And then the last thing is, because of those parts of the county that I'm fairly convinced from past experience, the way the voters have voted in the past, they're not going to vote a 1 cent for transit. So what we need to have, and what the delegation mentioned in their statement, was that 1 cent should also be allowed to address transportation issues. And my argument is, we need to have transportation, grade separations, better roads that will take us to those areas that we can link people to the transit system and get them down to Atlanta and other parts of the area. I think that there is a wonderful opportunity here to build a system that connects with Atlanta. It's going to be expensive, but the 1 cent tax over time will allow us to build that system, and it'll also allow us to build supporting infrastructure like roads that'll take people from their homes or their businesses to these areas onto something that'll take us to Atlanta and other parts of the county, of the area.
And you've already touched on this, but this passing the legislature and eventually maybe getting a gubernatorial signature, right, doesn't mean it's a done deal. It still faces the big hurdle that is the voters.
It still has to go to referendum. So the reason I'm cautious about turning the authority of people approving our project list is that when we do a referendum, all right, and it won't be this year. We don't have time to do it this year for the simple reason that we all know we have a big battle with the budget. And I cannot put too many things on the plate for the voters to consider, because my experience has been if you do that, they say no to all of it, and that doesn't do us any good. So the earliest we would do this would be probably November 2019. And that gives us time to come up with a project list that I can submit to the voters along the proposal for the 1 cent tax, similar as we do for SPLOST. You know, we have tier 1 projects and then tier 2 projects, and the tier 1 projects have to get done. Well, in this case here, for transit and transportation projects, it would all be tier 1 because it'd all be critical items. But we would tell them, this is what we're going to do with your money over the long term. And they would be the ones not vote so much on the 1 cent tax, but on the projects.
When I'm out talking to people about this, the one thing that I get from them is that they're confused about these maps, why they were drawn, where they were drawn, and what they mean. Do you also hear that?
Well, of course, but remember, like I said last year, it's like we're making sausage here, right? So whenever we do things, we put it out there for consideration and consumption by the immediate body of decision this time, which in this case is the Board of Commissioners and the delegation down at the state capitol. So they put that out there, and I agree. Representative Tanner, my hat's off to him. It was an amazing effort, and I get the part that he has to put something together that he thinks is going to get support down at the state legislature. So what I tell people is forget the maps. Okay, let's forget the maps. Let's focus on what we as a county can do together if you approve a 1 cent tax, all right, to address known problems involving transportation and transit in this county. These are the projects we're going to propose to you, and we're not going to worry about any maps because everybody in the county will get something out of this 1 cent tax.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about is something that happened last Tuesday at the County Commission meeting. We dealt with a series of code amendments, and usually when you get to that point, before I took this job and would be coming to the meetings, it's kind of eye glaze over kind of stuff. But this latest package, as I read through it, had a series of programs I think were very significant when it comes to economic stimulus and dealing with businesses in Cobb.
Well, I did two things. First of all, there was always the criticism, and I think it was justified, that the incentives we had here only dealt with the big boys and big girls too, all right? So if you were a big company that had significant capitalization, you know, these incentives would work for you. But if you're a middle-sized or a small-sized business, where's my break, all right? So the incentives that we propose are focused on that size of the community. The second thing they do is we provided incentives that go to work to keep companies here that are already here. You know, I go around right now talking to companies, my second year in office, that I visited my first year in office, to let them know that we do not take them for granted, that we appreciate their business, we want them to stay here, and also gives me the opportunity to hear some of their issues so that I can take them back to the board. And on Tuesday night, we had the business community there, and they were in total support of these incentive packages, both to help small businesses and to keep the ones that are here in Cobb County. So it's a great approach.
And I think as we've seen, it's these smaller, sometimes high-tech, but not always, smaller businesses that may really be the driver of the economy going forward.
Well, the bottom line is that, you know, over 60% of our businesses in Cobb County are small businesses, all right? Obviously, we have some really well-known companies here, but the bottom line is capitalism, you know, it's a winner and loser situation. But we need to make sure that from the county perspective, we do all we can to encourage entrepreneurship in the county, because we didn't get to be a five-star county with a high quality life because we did things on the cheap. You know, we have great companies here, both large and small, and we do everything we possibly can to let them know that we want them to stay here and to minimize our impact on their businesses.
Earlier today, before the storms rolled through Cobb County, you and I had a chance to go up to Kennesaw to see a special program called Building Homes for Heroes.
Yes.
Give a home to a family of four, a recent Army an Army veteran. He recently left the service.
Right.
And that was a pretty special morning.
Yeah, it was great. Matter of fact, I can now add to my collection of probably 150 T-shirts, but they were giving out T-shirts this morning, and it's got a really cool back here. And I just have to say this. I came in the Marine Corps on active duty in the early 1970, but I did all my training during the late 60s. And it is it's such a different country today, the way that we support our troops. Vietnam was not a good time, and I often wondered how we lost our way, because these were men and women that simply responded to the call of their country, and they were doing their duty. And because they were doing their duty, many in this country reviled them, and that was despicable. So it is just so great to see 40 years later, almost 50 years later, we have so many groups today, and there's just, I can't tell you how many there are, because I've been to a lot of their programs, that have the care of the veterans at heart, but they do a couple things. They don't just say, okay, here, they have a support group that sustains these veterans. Because first of all, today's war with Afghanistan is our longest war. We have now been there almost 15 years, and we're still heavily engaged there. And the kind of warfare that goes on there, sadly, brings back troops that are wounded in body, if not in spirit. And we're trying all we can to support them, but we can do more. And I think the American people are stepping up to the plate with these kind of groups and are doing just that. So, I've been a big supporter of something called Project Mail Call, which is a program run by two members of my church in Mount Bethel called Ed and Mary Edel, who for the last 10 years have been sending boxes to all over the world to troops with a sort of like a supermarket in their basement. And they're just one of many programs here. Habitat for Humanity builds houses for veterans. And it's just really, really encouraging to see what we're doing now, to show at least, a large appreciation for these men and women that have really gone out of their way to step up to the plate and protect our freedoms and also, make a statement about themselves and who they are.
And when you look at, Chase Bank was involved.
Yes,
they
yes.
They vowed to do 1,000 of these homes.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. They committed to do what they do is that Chase Manhattan. It's a shout out to them. So I hope if you're a patron or you work there, I want to say thank you. They made a commitment to they take houses that are foreclosed on, and they give these houses to this organization, Building Homes for Heroes. And the Building Homes for Heroes renovates these homes and gives them to these veterans. So thank you, Chase Manhattan, for doing that. I think the gentleman today said they've given over 980 houses already. 980 houses. That's no small deal. And I'm sure that other banks and organizations in America are doing the same thing, but today is Chase Manhattan Day, on our video.
And when I'm looking around, in that nice Kennesaw neighborhood up off
Yes,
Shellford Road,
right.
And for the neighbors there, instead of having a house that was in disrepair and foreclosure, now a family of four has moved in there.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful house. They really did a great job. It was a house built for children, and I think that they're going to be they're going to be happy there, both because of what happened, but also because they're moving to Cobb County, which is just popular with nothing but great people.
Yeah, that's some stuff in the house I'm envious of too. I was looking around. All right, well, I appreciate you coming in. Once again, subscribe to the Chairman's newsletter, also to our social media platforms. A lot going on in Cobb County. You want to stay informed. Thanks for coming by, and everybody else, have a good day.
See you next week. Thank you.